So we're going to dive into some NLP. If you guys don't know what NLP is, it's neuro-linguistic programming. And we're not going to dive into all the super craziness of NLP because there's so much behind it, honestly, even though I am trained in this and trained in other forms of neuroscience and just what composes the sales process or communication, really not really sales, but communication. There's still so much to learn. So I'm still always going to be a student. Always will be. Thanks for the support there, Robin. If you guys are watching this on Facebook Live, inside my Facebook group, like the post, let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know, give us a thumbs up. Let us know what else you want to watch. Let us know where you're watching from. But we're going to talk about language patterns today. I'm going to show you how to get into the mind of your prospect. There's a lot of different things that you can listen to because words have a lot of meaning. I'm going to break down why here in a sec. So let me actually write language patterns up here so you guys know. Any questions you have? This is definitely a higher level video. I know that sometimes we talk about how can we generate appointments, or how can we navigate a sales call, or how do you want to end a call to make sure that you can get the prospect to say yes. These are that's basic stuff, guys. But this is actually going to help you get into the mind of your actual prospect. And when you learn how to do this, literally, guys, NLP, like Richard Brandon, I believe it's Brandon, I hope I said that right, but when he came up with neuro-linguistic programming with his partner, like when this was all created at that point in time, like they're saying that language was the first form of magic. And the reason why is because with just a few words, the same amount of words that drive positive reinforcement and positive outcomes, the same amount of words, same amount of letters can also drive negative outcome and negative reinforcement, right? So it can build you up as fast as it can break you down. Like it creates and it destroys, okay? Language is the first form of magic. When you learn how to do this, this is like magic, guys. It's crazy. So when you really learn this, and what you're gonna learn today, just 3 simple things under just language patterns, which is a very small part of NLP, it's gonna blow away your freaking mind. But this is how we're able to get into the minds of our prospects when we talk to them, while we never actually have to ask for the sale and they ask to buy from us, okay? By the way, if you're in my private mentorship, The Art of Sales, we cover a lot of this on the coaching calls and trainings, and like, this is the high level stuff. This is the stuff that will never die. Techniques die. What the majority of the market is teaching is dying and is constantly having to be revamped because they're teaching techniques. They're not teaching concepts, methodologies, tried and proven frameworks that have worked for years and decades, okay? So what we're gonna talk about is, by the way, if you guys want information on my private mentorship, I put a link above. You can book a call with my team so we can audit where you're at. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, I put links below. You can just click in the description, check those out, and it'll give you resources to help you go from where you're at to where you want to be. Okay. So we're going to discuss today language patterns. So just to let you guys know, with language patterns, everything that we say, there's meaning behind. Even if you're like, that's not what I meant, there is another meaning behind it. I'm going to explain why here in a sec. So, number 1 is you're going to have surface meaning. Okay? And then you're going to have deeper meaning. Okay? So the way this works is this is going to be driven from experience and sensory, wow, I just drew a blank on the word, but your other senses. So to create experience, which creates your biases, okay? Biases are what we already have. So let me give you an example of this. This all happens in the small brain, guys. So you guys know about, the easiest way to explain this is like you hear a lot of the time, people make decisions based on logic, not emotion, right? They make decisions based on emotion and justify with logic. That's like the surface level meaning of what this is, okay? So that's the surface level meaning. The way this actually works is your surface level meaning actually comes in the form of words, and words are actually driven from experience, and experience is built from all your different senses which then create biases in the back of your brain. So for instance, if I were to walk up down the street and I see a house on fire, my immediate bias is that fire is hot, that's dangerous, I should not walk into that house. Okay? So biases create the first thing that we think of. Okay? So that's what the saying of you don't have a second chance to make a first impression is, because people have already accumulated these biases to where when they see you, or the other expression, you have 8 seconds to make the impression to decide if the buyer is going to want to buy from you. All of these surface level sayings that you hear in the sales world, all are driven from the deeper meaning, which we'll get into in a second, but all from our logic brain, our small thinking brain, or aka the crocodile brain, right? Which if you're in sales, you probably heard it called a lot of different things. But that's what all this is driven from. So the biases then create how we initially react to something subconsciously, that's where it's triggered from. So the surface level meaning is in the form of words, and I want to actually write this in a different color. So, and I want you guys to know, I didn't come up with all of this. This is already a thing, right? I'm just teaching you what is already a thing, okay? We do have some of our own proprietary stuff in the Art of Sales mentorship I have, where we help you build a better sales system and develop world-class sales teams, but this is just stuff that has been around forever, okay? And the majority of people don't actually talk about it because you actually have to really actually know your shit in order to teach and execute on this kind of stuff. A lot of people are teaching sales in this market because it's something needed, and they're just leveraging sales in the aspect of, here's how you use a closing line. Here's how you position a frame, when really there's no definition behind the different types of frames, which are also NLP, which we're not going to get into today. All they do is they talk about, here's my script. Here's a word that you say. When those are techniques and they die, and they're probably regurgitating that information from somebody else. This has been around for since the 1950s, I believe NLP was developed. So what I'm going to do real quick is, okay. The sales teams on deals, closing deals, just had to make sure they were good to go. So anyway, this is delivered in the form of words. And this gets further diluted whenever, so when I say words, that's speaking, it gets further diluted when they put it on paper, okay? So what you want to do in order to find the deeper meaning, because now that you understand that all this stuff is happening super fast from biases all the way out, and the biases are created in the logic brain, which is created from experiences that happen in life. So if you guys have probably also heard, people are the happiest whenever you're able to be in the moment. That's because you're able to absorb more of the sensory around you from all your senses: smell, sight, feel, taste. So whenever you are in one spot, let's say you're having a picnic, and you're able to feel the wind on you, you're able to feel the sun on you, you're able to taste, maybe you have wine or champagne out there, and you're able to talk with the person that you're with, and you're able to just be with them. Maybe you have the dog, and the dog's all running on top of you, and then you just feel the grass underneath you and the really soft blanket. You can feel all these different things I'm saying right now while you're sitting down watching this video. You can feel the experience, right? Well, what happens is anytime that you have that, it creates a better experience, which creates a stronger, more positive bias, right? So this way, whenever you see somebody having a picnic, all of a sudden the best memories come back, right? Everything you felt, saw, tasted, heard on that day when you had a picnic, all of that washes back to you. This is also a form of anchoring, which is NLP, which we're not going to get into today either. But on the flip side, if you are not living in the moment, aka a happier life, what ends up happening is, let's say that you're same exact scenario, except you're also on your phone. So all those things I just described, that beautiful picture, but now you're also on your phone. So you're not actually giving 100% attention to all those things, so you're not able to absorb them all in the same way. So when you see somebody else having a picnic, you might actually just walk by. You might not even pay it any attention because you're just well, that was just another day. So you see how that works? So literally all of your commitment to the sensory, I can't remember what sensory, I'm drawing a blank, but anyway, but all your commitment to letting all of your senses work and being present in the moment, that's why you become happier. And that's why you're able to live a happier life. which we're not going to get into that today either. So much stuff, but you can see how deep the topic can get if you wanted to. So if you want to discover a deeper meaning, I'm going to give you guys three ways to do that. I'm going to sip some of my coffee real quick. If you guys have any questions, drop them below. If you have any feedback, whatever, drop it below. Again, if you want to talk with my team and stuff and learn how you can get great at this stuff and become a master communicator, then there's a links above and below. So what we want to look at today, the three terms are going to be, my board's kind of getting old, but, and, even, though. Okay? So these are the three words we're going to look into. And if you can, yeah, Matt, free NLP content, man. Looking at comments here, guys. We're watching this on YouTube. I got my computer set up over here. So these are the three words you're going to want to look for. I'm going to break down what they do. Like, this is how you get into the prospect's mind if you hear these. So you're going to hear but, you're going to hear and, you're going to hear even though. Now, let me just be clear with something. I am not perfect at this in the sense of, like, I find myself sometimes, I'm breaking this habit. I'm consciously working on breaking this habit, but the words but and, like, I still find myself sometimes falling into this, and I'll explain why that is, why that is holding you back. And why I'm trying to actively make sure that I'm starting to say even though instead. I'll explain why in a sec. But the way these work is if you hear but, this typically means that they feel that they feel like whatever is happening is impossible, or they have a ton of doubt and lack of belief in themselves or the product or you. Okay? So for an example of this would be like, yeah, I really feel like I want to invest in this, but right now I just can't find the money. Or, yeah, I know I can have whatever I want in life, but I have to work super hard to get it. So that is, and they feel like it's impossible. They have doubt in themselves, okay? So if you hear your client or your prospect using buts in that type of form, that's what's happening right now, okay? So you'll be able to understand how to reframe, which we're not going to get to frames, but you reframe it so this way you can get them to go from but to even though. We'll explain that in a sec too. So with and, we use that same scenario. So yeah, I know I definitely want to buy this. I know it's going to help me do X, and I understand that it's going to cost a shit ton of money to do it. Okay? What this means is that they feel like there has to be some type of equal exchange. Okay? This is telling them that, like, this is kind of going to be a one-for-one thing, like, you know, I'm going to have to give a lot and lose a lot, and eventually shit's just going to work out. So they have this, like, equal exchange mentality, okay, which is better than feeling like things are impossible and doubting themselves, the product, or you. At this point, they're past that, and they just know that, like, yeah, it's going to take time, so it's not really making them want, it doesn't push them over the fence to execute. That's the problem here. Even though this is whenever you know they're in a winning mentality. Okay? They're in a winning mentality, and the example of this would be along the lines of, let me refresh this here to make sure I can see everything. This is going to be along the lines of, yeah, I know I can have whatever I want in life, even though it's going to require me to work hard. So what you're doing is leading with the positive, and then you're also making sure that the even though means that they're going to win even though that shit's happening. Okay, they're going to win even though the hard stuff. Like, yeah, I definitely know I want to get started even though it's going to cost a lot of money. Like, they understand, like, money's just a part of the process. Like, we're here to win. Let's go. Come on, let's go. Right? So even though is a winning mentality. And just so you know, if they're using this term backwards, which basically means, I'll use the same example again. So if they were to say something along the lines of, you can have anything you want in life, even though you have to work hard for it, like that's very positive. You feel good. Like that just feels like real smooth. Okay? But if you were to flip that and say, you're gonna have to work hard, even though that's what it takes to get what you want. Like saying it that way puts the negative first, which is gonna drive less momentum. It's gonna drive less of a positive experience. It's not gonna give that same energy, that same feel, that same positive mindset. So if you lead with the negative, even though you say even though, it's still going to drive a negative outcome. Okay? So these are the three that you want to focus on, and the way this works, I'll actually draw with this marker. So before I do this, Danny said on here on the live, he said, how about dealing with a prospect who insists on dominating the conversation, constantly injects what they think, what you mean? That's dealing with personality types, Danny, which we're not going to get into for this. This is dealing with language patterns. So NLP, yes, personality types are a part of neuro-linguistic programming, which, by the way, if you guys are not familiar with neuro-linguistic programming, neuro is derived from like neuroscience, and then linguistic is like actions and words, like if like linguistics, like if you do like body language and stuff like that, mirror match, like you guys probably heard those kinds of things. Like that's linguistic, like words and the actions in which you're doing. But the programming piece is like what is then injected into us. Like that's the programming and like us acting. So that's neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. But there's a lot of pieces of that, and Danny, we're not going to get into personality types on this. This is just language patterns today. So if you watch this whole video, there's a lot of stuff we could have gone over, but we're not going to because I only have a certain amount of time. So if you guys want to learn that stuff in depth and be able to talk to me about that on a regular basis multiple times a week, then you can join my Art of Sales mentorship. But the way this works here, guys, so the but. So the clear box means that it's the positive, and the but means they're living here, where the negative is overshadowing the positive. And means that they believe there's an even exchange of 1 for 1, essentially, where positive and negative both exist in the same space, and they are required to. And then you have even though, where the positive overshadows the negative, where the only option is positive, win, okay? So guys, I hope this was helpful. This is just some really simple like overview on language patterns. We didn't even get super deep, but I feel like this can at least get you to the next step, because if you hear your client saying the word but in that context, and in that context, or even though in that context, what I want you to do is not focus so much on like, well, how do I deal with this? What do I say? Like everything else. I want you to sit back and breathe. Okay? A lot of people feel like they need to have all this on reflex. But the thing is, guys, I've been doing this for a decade. Okay? This isn't something I just picked up on the internet last week. Like, so I've had this stuff in practice for a long time. And if you want to get good at this stuff, then you need to make sure that you give yourself the chance to be good at it. All right? Don't try to have stuff written down all the time and constantly trying to be ready for when they say something. Okay? Stop going into conversations with expectations. Let things flow. And then when you hear something that you know or fits one of these categories or category of something that you have heard of before, step back and breathe. Give your mind the chance to catch up with your actions. There's something referred to as an action bias, which we talked about before, is lodged in our crocodile brain, our small thinking brain. And the action bias is something that tells us, oh, we need to do something just because we feel like we need to do something, even though we don't really need something to be done. Okay, it's kind of like you're just sitting there and you're just like, well, I'm just bored, like I just feel like I need to do something. I feel like I just need to help in some way. I need to get up and do something. Like that's your action bias kicking in. Okay? You don't always need to do something. You can sit there and do nothing. Like give yourself the chance to breathe. Okay? This is like, salespeople say this all the time in the sales world, and all these sales trainers, they say don't speak. The first one to speak loses. Okay? That's a sales world thing. And this is when people try to include NLP, language patterns, and really everything encompassed in NLP. When they tried to include it in sales because they saw they could make money, they started creating these really easy to grasp terms, which are also, by the way, lodged in our crocodile brain. That's another way that we process thinking quickly, is easy to grasp. So it was easy to sell, all right? And that's why they do that. So anyway, that's why they do that meeting. So, well, kind of got off on a tangent there. But anyway, hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If you notice these things, let them just play this out. Take a minute to breathe. Make sure that you can take the chance to think about what you want to say next and just not have to just say something right away, okay? I kind of lost my train of thought on that last thing, but that's the first one to speak loses. That's the action bias, by the way. I lost my train of thought for a sec, but that's the action bias kicking in, where if the customer's not saying anything, let's say they sit there for a minute and nothing's said, or they sit there for 30 seconds and nothing's said, or 2 minutes and nothing's said, your action bias from your crocodile brain, the small thinking brain, immediately wants to kick in and say, maybe I should say something here. Maybe I should add in one more benefit. Maybe I should add in one more feature. Maybe I add in one more of this, one more of that. That's your action bias kicking in. You gotta learn to train that. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful, guys. I'm gonna jump off. Again, if you want more information, I put stuff underneath. And if you're watching this on YouTube, in the description, so a bunch of stuff that can help you go from A to B. So this way you could develop a better sales system and build a better world-class sales team. If you're watching this Facebook Live, there's a link above. Love to work with you. I love my team to audit where you're at in the process so we can lend some advice. But guys, I'm super excited for you. Hopefully you can leverage this and help you move yourself along in life and move your business along in the sales department. So I'll catch you guys later.